Okay, now got the Bondo poured. Everything's good. It's still hot to the touch, but it's good to pull out. First thing I'm gonna do is pull this out of its bowl, which is this. That's what we made earlier. And that can now go in the trash. And then I can pull this alginate. Get it over here where you can see it. I can pull it off here. Put it back in this bowl, just in case something messes up and I need it. And I can actually take this plaster off of here. Probably could have waxed it or something so that it wouldn't stick, but I didn't figure it'd be too bad. There we go. Now, we have an actual pallet of the gator's mouth. 100% complete to this point. So, everything looks good. I'm back up here along with my artificial pallet. And you'll notice along the edges here, I still have some marks of the teeth, which are down in here, which is really going to be wider than I want. I really want to come down in here and cut this gator's mouth, and this is not going to fit exactly right now because it's too wide. So it's almost there, but what I'm doing is I will take it on my bandsaw and cut it right here on the edge, and right here around this line here. And once I do that, everything should look like it's gonna fit. So let me make a few more cuts and we'll see how it fits. Okay, I got everything trimmed. Trimmed down here, and you can see about how thick I poured that, about a 1/2 inch thick. And you can see all the contours. You can see all the detail in the mouth. What I will do from here, well, first thing we're going to do is check and make sure that it fits. And you see, it's a perfect fit. He liked it so much he's trying to bite it, I guess. But but it's a perfect fit in this gator's mouth. Now what I will do from here is, I told you I wanted to try to get the palate out of the mouth without cutting it. So here's your palate. I got the palate successfully out of the mouth without cutting it. Now I can go to town. I know it's going to fit. I can cut all this bone out of here, get the palate out of the mouth, get the membrane out, things and all the meat and the things that need to be taken out so it doesn't rot. Okay, so we're back. Got the Bondo pallet out of the or what I would call we got the pallet out of the gator's mouth, because this is a true replica of the gator, but this is too heavy and it's too thick for what we need to do. We want the actual artificial palate of the gator to be lightweight, yet we want it to be very rigid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this 2-part. This is what they call dragon skin. It's 2 parts, part A, part B. But this will go on top of the pallet here. And when I feel like it's thick enough, then I'll pull it off and I'll have an actual silicone mold of the palate of this gator's mouth. I'll be able to use that silicone mold over and over and over again and pour many, many, many pallets out of this. Produce a very nice looking pallet every time. I have the first coat of dragon skin actually placed on the palate of the mouth. I'm going to keep placing this dragon skin on here until the silicone mold is as thick as I want it to be, or I think that it needs to be. The silicone will tear if it's too thin. So I'm going to keep applying this until it's really thick. I'm going to let it sit overnight, and once it sits overnight, I'll have my mold and ready to pour my artificial palate that will actually go into the gator. Okay, I got enough dragon skin poured on my palette, my artificial palette. So what I've done was I took my knife and I run under here like so, and cut this silicone away from the cardboard, and then you can actually make a spot, reach, grip it, and then you can actually peel it up. When you peel it up on that's the top side of your mold, this is the back side, you'll see where it's real thin. Make sure you just cut this off and get your Bondo piece out. We'll do that real quick. Go ahead and cut off any excess silicone that you don't foresee you need. Just clean that up. And then you can just pull this out. Just flip this up here. And this is why I like his mold, because it's really flexible. I wound up putting 4 coats on it. And now I have a bowl-shaped mold of the gator's mouth that I can pour over and over and over and over again. And we're going to pour one. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and that should be the end of the video of casting the gator's pallet. I got the silicone mold for this. Not that there's a whole lot to this next step. I have some what they call smooth cast 320. They make a smooth cast 320 and then they make a smooth cast 300. And this is a liquid 2-part mixture here. We got the A and the B. One's clear and one's brown. But the difference between the 300 and the 320 is the 300 will dry white, really, really white. The 320 will dry more of a bone color, and that's what I want, is a bone color palette, because that's going to save me less time in the finish work as far as painting. It'll give me a good base color to work off of. But all you do is mix these 50-50, and what I have here, due to the thickness of my mold and just looking at it, based it on the thickest part of the mold, I've got 14 ounces of A and 14 ounces of B, which is going to give me a 28-ounce mixture. And that's what I'll use, and I'll go from there and adjust the mixture to find out, is it enough, is it not enough, is it too much, how much do I need? And then I can write it on my mold, and every time I need to pour a pallet, I can come back to this mold and use the right amount. You could take this stuff, if you wanted to do it at the alginate part of making this mold, when I've done the alginate on the gator with the plaster mix, and then I pulled it out of the gator's mouth and I flipped it over. At that point, you actually could do the smooth cast 320. If that's what you wanted to do, just remember you only get a one-time pour out of that. Now, if you're trying to make an exact replica for the exact gator and trying to put everything back for that gator, then that's fine. But for this instance, I'm trying to make a mold that I can use over and over and over and over and over on different gators. So that's the difference. I don't want to have to do the alginate and the plaster every time, because that gets, over time, it gets rather expensive. So I'm going to go ahead and mix these together. We'll watch it. I'll pull it out of the mold. This stuff takes about 10 minutes maybe. It's kind of warm in here today, so yeah, it may take about 10 minutes to harden up. And once it does, I'll pull it out of the mold and show you the finished product before we actually put it back in the gator's mouth. I do not have the gator here with me. The gator is back in the freezer. So but I'll show you what I got here. It is a yellow mixture versus the 300. If you got it, it'd be a white. Well, it would kind of start out a little yellow, but it'll dry completely white. This will actually turn into a very, very hard plastic-like material. Okay, the material is dry. I put me some gloves on because the edges of this stuff sometimes will get sticky if I don't wait long enough. So that's kind of sticky right there. But this is dry. It dried to an off-white bone color instead of the old brown liquid that you seen a while ago. So I'm going to pull it out of the mold. I'm going to show you what you got. You're going to be probably amazed at the difference between this mold and the Bondo mold. You can see a lot more usually with the smooth cast. A lot more detail than what you could see with Bondo. There's your finished product. Now you can really see the detail in that pallet. If any of this does not fit right here on the edges, you can go ahead while it's soft. I think this has been in here for about 10 minutes. You can soften the edges up if you need to. You can cut this with a bandsaw if you need to. But we checked it with the Bondo. It should be an exact fit to the Gator. And it should be a, excuse me, a really close fit to any other Gator that I need to go back and put a pallet in. So remember, when we poured the Bondo, if you didn't want to pour Bondo at that point into the alginate mold, you could go ahead and pour the Smooth Cast 320. You would just have a one-time pour. Unless you go back and you cast a silicone mold, it's going to be a one-time pour. I did the Bondo and fiberglass mixture and not the Smooth Cast 320 because the Bondo is a lot cheaper. I could pour one of these for about a few bucks, and then I'm going to throw this away and keep this. So however you want to do it. You can use a Smooth Cast in the alginate part, in the alginate mold if you want to, but it's just kind of an expensive way to do it. That's casting a Gator's pallet. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up, message me, call me, email me, go to my website, like the video, share it, the whole nine. I enjoy doing it for you. Thanks.